My name is Damon Brown. You're watching Bring Your Worth TV on the road. As you can probably tell, this is not my usual house. This is not my usual family. Shout out to Talking Heads. If you get the reference, then I think we're friends. But thank you for coming through. I'm so excited to be chilling out with you and to connect with you on the road. Once again, I'm entrepreneurial coach Damon Brown. I'm here to help you as a side hustler, a solopreneur, otherwise a non-traditional entrepreneur. Make sure my mic is on. There we go. In a hip hop mood today, so you're gonna hear a lot of those references. Bring Your Worth TV comes to you every Wednesday live, as we are right now, at around 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Vegas time, it is hot as an oven in this general area. So it's still hot in the greater Vegas area and in Nevada. If you want to subscribe for free, you can do so at the links below. If you're on Amazon, if you're on YouTube, which is the main channel over at bringyourworth.tv, even if you're watching on LinkedIn, you can subscribe or follow me or what have you. Do your thing. I'm not actually on a lot of the social media platforms. You can go to the previous episodes to hear all my discussions about that. In fact, I had a mega episode from 2 Sundays ago where I talked about how you can build your business without social media. So I'm not going to get into that here, but on most of the platforms, you can see some remnants of me. And I know some of y'all share that stuff on the platforms that you're on, such as Facebook and X, Twitter, whatever they call it now. But thank you for coming through wherever you're at. If you want to subscribe, you can do so below. And you can get the complete Bring Your Worth collection over here. Well-worn copy. I guess you call that like the front of the house copy. This is what this is. So I think my kids might have gotten to it too, but it's a whole nother story. The, the complete Bring Your Worth collection is available now everywhere fine books are sold, including at damebrown.net. If you want to get it directly from me, it's a complete series. Almost all my business books, but we got to update on that soon. Almost all my business books from the past 8 years. My youngest son just turned 8. And I have a picture of him as a toddler. I don't even think he was a toddler. He's actually a baby. He just started teething, and he's biting the first copy of The Bites Entrepreneur. And there's a bite mark right there. And I swear in the picture, he's biting on the bite mark. It's as cute as can be. I'm biased because he's my kid, but shout out to him. So him and my eldest, who are about to turn 11. It's an amazing time, but I wanted to actually celebrate this journey and getting so many books out. There's about 8 books in here, no lie. So be sure and get that. It's a celebration of y'all too. Y'all made some of them bestsellers. You supported all of them though, which I appreciate. And thank you for the love. Another gift from me with that is the complete Bring Your Worth collection audiobook. You can actually listen to it right now, live right now at bringyourworth.tv. After we're done, of course. But be sure and check it out. And that's my gift to you as well. Again, a lot of people that I coach that I'm supporting right now. Thank you for watching. A lot of you are traveling, not just me, but also like abroad and doing different things. So shout out to y'all. If you want to go and connect and hear the complete series right now, you can click right now after we're done right now. So in about 45 minutes, you can click on this and get into it. And if you're a longtime listener over the past year, I've been contributing to Moxie. Moxie is a political platform, but not a partisan platform. And so similar to my content, it's not politically based as far as like saying you should vote for this person, that person, but it is about the discussion. Particularly what I contribute is the insights, the laws, the discussions that are going to be most pertinent in this upcoming year. We got a big election in America. I know y'all are going through it in India. You just had a major election in the UK. My colleagues and friends over there are saying that things are wild over there. Those decisions that are being made and people that are making those decisions, how are our interests being met as side hustlers, as solopreneurs, as non-traditional entrepreneurs? So I've been contributing to that conversation. You can actually join for free. It's usually 30 days trial. Actually, they want to make it 60 days if you put in the code Brown Damon. It's right there, right under my big head. Check it out. And as we get into more stuff, we already had a little primary election here in the Vegas area, which is Clark County. So it's already starting here. I was already turning the ballot a couple weeks ago. So yeah, it's getting real, folks. Be sure and get involved, particularly if you own a small business or if you're part of a generally underrepresented community. I'm a part of a few of them. So we got to get our voice out, become part of their process. So exciting. You can watch right now Drake, Kendrick Lamar, and J. Cole, Creative Power Strategy. I love doing this video, and y'all have really come through and supported the video, which I appreciate. And it's about the different strategies that the popular rapper Drake, the Pulitzer Prize winning rapper Kendrick Lamar, and the very much rapper J. Cole, how they represent different ways that they found success. If you're into music and particularly hip hop, you know that over the past few months there's been a lot of discussions about the so-called big three and who's the who's the big me, to quote one of the rappers. And I think it's a great discussion to find out not just who the best one is, which, I'm a hip hop head back to when I used to write for The Source. There's nothing wrong with that discussion. What I want us to take away from it, though, which I try to do with this video, in that 9 minutes, talk about the strategies that actually got them to where they are now. Like, there's literally millions of rappers now, right? Particularly if you've been following hip hop and writing about hip hop as I have for decades. There's millions and millions of rappers now. Rap is more popular than ever, and if you expand it to hip hop, which is a culture connected to rap, then it's even bigger, right? I'm a product of hip hop culture, even though I'm not a rapper. What strategies did they use to harness their creative power so that they were able to show up in a certain way and become, the legends of this generation? They're a little bit younger than me. See the gray hair right here. So they're a little bit younger generation than me, but I think it makes it worth analyzing. I did a similar video about a year ago of the generation ahead of me, featuring MJ, so Michael Jackson, Prince, and Jay-Z, and how they use different strategies. The link to both of them is right in this link, so you can go ahead and watch it right now. I think you'll enjoy it, particularly if you're a fan of the show. But I'm so proud of this episode. I'm really glad of the conversations that are already happening right below, right below in the comments, where, and then there's some shorts related to it that are from there, and the comments are getting even more heated there. And it's still a big debate. In fact, one of them, I forget, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. One of them, Kendrick Lamar, is actually having a live concert. If you're watching this live, he's having a live concert that's going to be on Twitch, which is a popular video game platform, but it's beyond that as far as live streaming, and also on Amazon Prime. So I have some business this evening, but I hope to catch part of it. If I get a chance during this episode, I'll throw a link in there in the chat. All right. So today's show, favorite road tripping gear. Shout out to Willie Nelson, who made a cameo in today's thumbnail. Thank you for letting me borrow your hair, so definitely could use it. I love to travel. And as I said in the newsletter at joindamon.me, you can join it for free. In today's newsletter, I talked about how I've always had a complex relationship with travel, where one of those, part of me always wanted to travel and part of me wanted to stay still. And I traveled or moved a lot. Not even traveled, moved a lot growing up because my family dynamics changed, because, one of my parents got a promotion. And so I'm originally from South Jersey. Shout out to Atlantic City. Was raised in areas around Camden. So shout out to Camden. I miss y'all. And then had my teenage years in the Midwest. So shout out to East Lansing, Michigan. Shout out to Ohio. A lot of spots over there. Went to school in Detroit. Shout out to Oakland University. And then when I went to get my master's in Northwestern, shout out to Chicago, then I kind of went on my own. And by then I was a full grown adult and kind of was a little bit farther from my family. My point is that with traveling, I've always had a complex relationship because I traveled or moved a lot when I was younger, and I continued to move when I was a young adult. And then when my wife and I started our family and I started to settle down, there was always that conflict as far as saying, particularly when we had kids. And again, my eldest is about to turn 11. And so it ended up being this shift. And it's like, all right, how can I continue to feed that need for travel, but still be an adult, right? It's like, and shout out to the wonderful people. In fact, some of them I'm really cool with, who have taken their family on the road and been able to travel like that. We didn't have the resources or the time or the structure to do that. And that didn't quite fit where our family was. So there had to be a decision that was made. And so that decision was me being a stay-at-home dad. And that meant, the traveling was severely curtailed. Now, as I'm approaching, or actually in middle age, then my view is different, where the so-called sacrifices I made when I didn't travel, I'm all like, well, I want to be at home with my kids. And when I travel, I want to take my kids with me. And it's just a different type of environment, a different type of feel. Yeah, let me know in the chat if you guys are experiencing a different way of looking at travel as you get older. But for the work that I do, travel isn't necessary, whether I'm going to the TED conference or I'm doing in-person coaching, which isn't as common now because so many of us are remote. It was way more common when I started my coaching practice, well before the pandemic hit, and we weren't doing the hybrid model, right? So you coach somebody, you go have dinner, have a cup of coffee. And shout out to y'all who are my early coaching clients, where we'd go out in the Toledo winters or whatever, and just have a coaching session. I appreciate y'all. Different level of intimacy with that. But if I'm doing a keynote speech, um, if I'm going to a conference, whether it's a CES show, which isn't that far because it's basically here in Vegas, or I'm going to uh, more of the complex or more intimate conferences that require you to be in person, it's like travel is still a necessity. So, what I want to talk about today are those things and those strategies that allow me to keep my sanity as I'm traveling, particularly when I'm away from family. The things that help keep me healthy, because again, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. Man, man, I got so many different stories, and those that know me know I've done some crazy travel where it's like being on the road for ages, or catching flight after flight after flight. I know some of y'all are still living that life, so shout out to y'all. But hopefully, it'll help y'all get some insight and some strength as you go and start traveling, and also having the fun part of it too, where you and your partner, you alone, you and your kids, whatever the dynamic might be. It's kind of that season, particularly here in America, where the weather's nice, a little bit warm, but the weather's nice. A lot of people are out of school or, taking vacations. This will be the period of time. Get on the road. And hopefully these tools will help you with that process as well as you thinking about travel. Where are you guys going now? Is there a particular place that you're going to now? Is there travel that you want to do? Um, Now the pandemic has waned a little bit, at least for a lot of America, then is there a certain way that you're trying to get outside now? Yeah, let me know in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. So, true to the show, the question I get a lot is, how do you keep your business moving while you're actually traveling? And that can be a little bit more difficult than it seems, just because we have to find ways to keep the momentum of our business. Having systems in place is the number one tool. Shout out to Tim Ferriss. He talked about this ages ago in his classic The 4 Hour Work Week, where he actually went to, I want to say South America, but somewhere for 6 to 8 weeks, and the amount of time that he was out of the country, he wanted to make sure he didn't have to check in. And this is like, again, almost 20 years ago. So Zoom, I don't think that existed. I'm not even sure if Skype existed. Like, it was a different type of period of time. So if you're out of the country, you're really outside. I remember my first trips to Japan, and I was in my mid 20s. It was quite a while ago. And I just had to email. There was actually an earthquake in Japan, specifically in Tokyo, while I was there. And my whole family was worried about me, as well as my friends. And I had to email everybody because cell phones weren't popping like that, back in that period of time. The positive side about that, with what I experienced, and of course with Tim experienced when he was in South America, is that if you're gone for that period of time, you need to have systems to keep things moving. So it's not an option. Right now, I think we get fooled because we actually have the option to say, "Oh, okay, I'm going to be, I don't know, I was in Europe over the past year. Or I'm going to be in Paris, but I have a coaching call that was set up, so I might as well just take the coaching call, and I'll go to this. There's worse things to do than to be drinking Parisian coffee and be taking a coaching call. But it's supposed to be vacation and or family time. Is that what I want to do? Like, when I'm off next to the River Seine and I'm hanging out with my kids, like, no. But we have that option now. And there's a couple of videos I'm going to recommend in a moment that will help you keep that business moving. And I think the issue is, number one, having the systems in place. But the second issue is having the right mindset and being like, I'm actually off. You've heard this probably from other like thought leaders like myself, or people talking about things where that's really the danger, where we're in an always connected culture. And that means that you can always run your business, but that means that you're always running your business. And it allows you to be frankly lazy about creating systems that don't require you to be there. It can make you lazy about creating systems that don't require you to be there. And I think it's really important to go through that process and say, okay, if I were to, I've had health issues over the last few years, nothing major, but more with my allergies and stuff like that. Again, just a part of getting older. And it's like, okay, if I'm wiped out suddenly, believe it or not, there's bad allergies here in the greater Vegas area. So it's like, all right, I'm going to be wiped out. And I committed to having a show every Wednesday, and then suddenly I can't do it. So what's the system? Well, the system is, okay, well, I have a back catalog. Again, this is episode 386, I believe. This is episode 386. So I have a back catalog so I can do some reruns, or I can create a compilation of previous episodes, which I've done before, which you guys seem to appreciate. Stuff like that. Or I might be able to have a VA, which I don't have right now, but I could have a VA that I hire, and then they can handle it for me. Or I can go ahead and, there's so many different options. But things will happen, whether it's planned vacation, or you have issues in your family, or you have personal issues where you're like, I can't do it. So you're gonna have to figure out how to keep your business moving, whether you're traveling for fun or not. And I think that's a really important part of it. The couple of tools I'm going to recommend will kind of help you keep things on the road, particularly if you do some of the work that I do, and hopefully it'll be useful to you. So the first thing I recommend is Audio Technica. I can never say that, but I guess I said it okay. ATR 2100X USB. Man, please, my friends in marketing, please help them, because that is a mouthful. It's a fantastic microphone. I'm actually using it right now, but man, please help with the branding. So this is the microphone. I'm going to get meta for a second. I apologize if you're listening only, because I'm going to get distant. This is the microphone. Oh, getting distant now. As I said, it's USB, but there's also different cords to it. This is called, it begins with a C. I always forget the name of it. Is cardioid. I think it's a term for it, cardioid. So that means that there's cardioid basically means like a circle or oval. And so the way that it takes the mic in, it's actually able to get the surrounding area in front of the mic, but not the area away from the mic, which is why, even though I'm in a fairly big room, you're able to hear me okay. It comes with this little stand, which my favorite part, which sounds super nerdy. Watch this. So you go like this, and then actually there's a way to push this up. I don't want to break it, but it gets small. So this thing is about the size. I'm an adult male, so about the size of an adult male hand. Not the biggest guy, but it's like an average adult male hand. And this slides right in. And in fact, when I was traveling, again, hence me getting here, I was able to put it right in one of my bags. No problem. It might have been one of my backpacks. I just slid it right in. It was easy. It's no problem. And then you go and you plug it in. And again, they have USB. They also have an adapter that allows it to, is it called USB-C, I believe? They have an adapter that actually, or another wire that comes with it, that allows it to plug right into the Mac. I'm an Apple guy myself, so it plugs right in there. And then you might be able to see it. Yeah, there's an on-off switch. It's blue right now, which means it's currently on. Again, while you can hear me. If I turned it off, then it'll be off. Really helpful to be thoughtful about that. If it's like you're trying to turn your mic off and you didn't, and the mute thing gets weird, and also the reverse as far as making sure that people can hear you, so you make sure that's on. But of course, there's the light. So I've had some mistakes with it, but it was definitely my fault. There's an excellent microphone to travel with. Again, for that reason. There's some more sophisticated microphones that I actually just got, so I'm super excited about that. As I try them on, I'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and let you know how it goes. But the other microphones that I'm starting to work with, they're not really built for travel. They're a lot bigger. Now, they might be more crisp, they might be stronger, but this one is like a little baby microphone that works really well. This is actually my traditional microphone. So if you like the audio that you're hearing with the program, particularly over the past year, I think I've used it, then check it out. The links are all below, everything I'm talking about. So particularly if you're on Amazon, the link should be right next to you. The next one is a big one. Let me go ahead and pull it up. And it is the Paravel aviator luggage. That description looks massive, but this is important to note. Carbon neutral, made with recycled material and vegan leather. In other words, take your pick, whether it's carbon neutral, which means that whatever process the company Paravel used for it, it's actually not making damage to the environment based on the current environmental standards from the EPA or what have you. That's one. It's recycled material, which means the material itself isn't actually extracting from the environment, other than, I'm assuming, the energy that it takes to actually create it, like physically make it. But the material itself is recycled, and it's vegan leather, and you can put that together. This joint, it's adorable. I actually got this through Ted, so shout out to Ted. I've had it for a couple of years, but try not to knock over everything. This is what it looks like. So it is small enough for me to have it on camera and not have it totally all over the place. I'm not going to bother to open it because it's going to become something that's going to become Benny Hill. Been thinking about Benny Hill a lot. Shout out to all of y'all that remember Benny Hill. Yeah, that was definitely part of my childhood. But so suddenly it would turn into Benny Hill, and all this stuff would be spilling all over the place, and then the horns would start, and then I'd be running around in a circle trying to get all this stuff from the suitcase. But this suitcase is super cool for several reasons. Number one, it is dumb light. Like, it's ridiculously light. Like, I want to say suitcase itself is maybe, I've had bowling balls that have been bigger. I used to bowl back in the day. Shout out to my Midwest, again, my Midwest upbringing. But yeah, I've had bowling balls that have been heavier. So I'm guessing it's about 7 pounds, maybe. But it's durable as hell. Number two, it's simple and compact. It works really, really well. And it's worked on my weekend trips, the trip, that I'm doing right now, where it's a fairly brief trip just for a few days. And it fits all my stuff into there. It works really well. It's also very durable because I've taken it across the country. I might have taken it out of the country. I might have done an international trip with it. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure I have I've had it for a couple of years. And if you want to be environmentally conscious about it, it works really well. The reason why I'm recommending both the Audio Technica and the Aviator luggage is that, for me, the compactness and not having to worry about things working is huge when it comes to traveling. And again, I'm in the middle of traveling, but it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. So I'm doing the show. And so me not having to worry about that, not having to worry about make sure my clothes are good. And yeah, of course, I got my Bring Your Worth t-shirt that you see down here. But, like not having to worry about all my stuff fitting in there, not having to worry about my sound being off because I have my microphone now. All those things, I think, allow you to keep your business going if you do need to do stuff on the road. That leads to my biggest recommendation for this question is checking out this video, Brene Brown, How to Slow Down Without Losing Your Business. One of my favorite moments or examples that I've seen with Brene Brown, and also one of my favorite videos. About a year and a half ago, Brene Brown put a message on her LinkedIn, and I think on other platforms. It said, "Hey, I feel like I'm burning out. I need to stop. I'm going to take a break until September." I think it was like March. So maybe it was March of last year. Excuse me. And she explained, hey, these are the podcast episodes that she had 2 podcasts at the time. Having one is hard enough. These are the best episodes from these 2 podcasts. We'll be doing some reruns, but I really need to find balance. And she had just came out with a book called Atlas of the Heart. And it was just a lot that she was doing. I think I'm busy. She was ridiculously busy. And she was like, hey, I'm going to go and take a break. And so the way that she did it was so beautifully done, so strategic, and so honest. And when I've taken breaks, I've tried to use that same practice well before she did. But then when I saw how she did it, I was like, oh, that's how you can do it. That's beautiful. I love it. And so I did a video about it. It's about 20 minutes long. If you're struggling with how you can take a break from your business. If you feel like that's not possible, that taking a break is for everybody else, but not for you, be sure and check out the episodes. And I think you might be able to get some insight from it and hopefully get some encouragement as far as how you can do that in a strategic way that doesn't make you feel guilty or feel shame around it. You're watching Bring Your Worth TV. I'm entrepreneurial coach Damon Brown on the road live. Bring Your Worth TV is every Wednesday at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. You subscribe for free over at youtube.com/Brown Damon, all that link point there, or just go to Bring Your Worth TV. I'm trying to keep it easy for you. And my complete collection, the complete Bring Your Worth collection, is out now. You can listen to it live at Bring Your Worth TV or grab it at your favorite retailers, wherever fine books are sold. All right. So, really important question. How do I keep sanity on the road? I think everyone has a different practice for this. I know for me, and actually get this from my family, so shout out to my mom and other folks who do this. As soon as I get into a hotel room or the Airbnb or staying at a friend's house, whatever the situation is, family, the first thing I do is situate everything as much as possible as it is at home. So that means when I get in, I unpack all my clothes. I pull out my medicine and toiletry bag and all that stuff, and set it up in whatever bathroom I'm going to be in. Not taking up everything, but whatever my piece of the bathroom is. And then that leads to me bringing stuff from home that makes me feel the most comfortable. Like for instance, I know I was going to be here for a few days, so I actually brought my favorite robe from home. It's like, yeah, if there's space for it, let's bring it. Why not? And I also brought some foot slippers that I got for free when I was doing some overseas travel. And I don't use foot slippers at home as much. Actually, I have an official pair at home, but I got the slippers while I was traveling overseas, and I was like, these might come in handy. And so I brought these, and these are great, because like, carpet or whatever might be going on. So that makes me feel more cozy. The certain sense of home. Shout out to Jenny Blake, who I've mentioned before. She did the awesome book Pivot, as well as her recent book, I think it's called Free Time, which she talks about how you can manage your time and make more time for the things that you love. You can tell why her and I are good colleagues. I think she does this as well as a couple other people who actually bring candles. You have to be careful with the smoke systems, but folks will bring candles and then light them so those smells of home are familiar. Those little details, they might seem kind of weird or trivial, but they start to add up, particularly if you're doing long-term travel. This is not long-term travel for me, but when I did my first major book called Porn and Pong, How Grand Theft Auto, Tomb Raider, and Other Sexy Games Changed Our Culture. That was almost 16 years ago, long while ago. I'm like stuttering. I'm like, I can't believe it's been that long. But I was back in 2008, and I didn't know what I didn't know. So I planned travel all across the country, and I did it within about 3 weeks without coming back home. And I was living in San Francisco at the time. And probably by week 2, I realized I made a mistake. And I was like, so I know me well enough where me checking in back home, even though I have traveled a lot, me checking in back home between big travel things, even for just a day, helps me reset as opposed to me just being on the road and not coming back. In having that experience and some other experiences that I'll probably get into another time, I realized how crucial it was for me to feel centered as I was traveling. Because whether you're into routine or not into routine, when I was younger, I wasn't as much into routine. We still have certain things that we feel that give us comfort and that help create the structure of our lives. Even if we rebel against having a routine, that in itself is a routine, right? Right. As my friend Nilofer Merchant, shout out to her, does a wonderful book called The Power of Onlyness. And she talks about being a rebel. And when we say we're being a rebel, that's not the same as being a leader. A leader says, I'm going to create a new path for us to go on. I'm going to lead the way. A rebel says, whatever we're doing right now isn't working. We need to tear it down. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they know what's next. So even if we're working within a structure and we're rebelling against a structure, we're still responding to the structure. What happens when there is no structure, aka when you're on the road? Those little details, whether it's little candles, again, be careful. I've set off smoke alarms, so that's why I don't do the candles anymore. But if you do like little tea leaf candles, tiny candles, if there's certain fragrances, I love lavender, so I got the lavender joints all in this place. Whatever you got, the slippers, cheap house slippers, but they feel so good. I brought my favorite robe. Like, get that stuff that makes you feel comfortable and rock with it. If you can bring that space, if you have the space to bring it, I mean, why not? And even if it takes a little bit of your luggage space, get you your Parvel over here. There's plenty of space in that joint. Then you're good, and bring them. Why not? And I think that will help a lot. There's also some practical tools that I think might help as far as comfort level and keeping your sanity on the road. Okay, this is out of all the stuff I'm recommending. I If you've been a long time, as they say, a long time listener, first time caller, if you're one of those folks who've been watching Bring Your Worth TV for a while, for the 400 episodes, you've heard me mention TripIt a lot. I am not sponsored by them. Nothing like that. I just love their product. If you guys want to sponsor, give me a holler. But this is just because I love their stuff. TripIt is really, really, really simple. And the OG as far as the travel space. You put your information in there. In fact, you can forward it. There's a Once you get your Airbnb, your hotel information, your car rental, whatever it is. Even if there's like a play or a movie you're going to go to, any of that information. Once you get that email, you don't have to put it into the app. You just email it to their specific address. I'm not going to mention the address because they might be changing it. You send it to that address. Within 5 to 10 seconds, they email you back, automatic reply. They say, hey, we got it. And they'll let you know if there's any issues with the reservation, like if there's conflicts or whatever. Other than that, they have this platform, usually through the app, which I recommend getting the app, and it will organize all your stuff. The most important thing, though, is not just the organization, but also that it will warn you if things change. And so I remember being on a flight to Pittsburgh, and I forgot why I was in Pittsburgh. I think it might have been a layover or something. And me and whomever I was with being stuck on the tarmac. And whenever there was a delay or an update, because they also, whoever it was also at TripIt, we get our phone would buzz at the same time and would say, hey, this Delta flight is delayed, for another half an hour. Just be prepared, or did you want to find an alternate flight? And then it would be like 10 minutes later, I'm not exaggerating, then it'd be like, hey, it's your pilot speaking. We're actually going to be delayed for another 20 minutes, which of course makes it to 30 minutes plus a 10-minute delay, right? And it was like, oh, wow. And that happened like 4 times during the course of this very complicated trip. I think it might have been snow or something that totally screwed it up. Welcome to Pittsburgh, right? Shout out to my Pittsburgh folks. And but that's what TripIt does. After that experience, I was like, oh, I'm lifelong TripIt. Like, forget that. Particularly, like, this is just a national travel. This is just within the States. With the international travel that I've done, it has totally saved my behind. And also, they just recently advanced it, I would say over the last 6 months, maybe, where you can actually change your flight within it. And so they will help with that process with, if you're a road warrior like myself, being able to change your flight without having to stand the line, whatever, is good. And I've had elite status with a lot of the airlines. Still, what TripIt's able to do is a little bit better than some of the elite status. So shout out to TripIt. Be sure and check it out. Again, this isn't affiliate or anything. I'm not connected to them. I just love their stuff. Be sure and check it out if you're going to be traveling. Road trips, you might not need it as much, but if you're going to be in the air or anything that requires a train, man, trains are crazy. I used to take a lot of trains, and they could be a day late, easy. I don't know if that's happened or changed or not, because it's been a while since I've been on a train. But if you're on any type of system traveling where it's not a car, you actually have to depend on someone else being on time, please get TripIt. There's a free version of it. There's also Trip It Pro. I think the Pro might be $50 a year, might be a little bit more. How valuable is your time? You got to ask yourself that question. Again, the question, how do I keep sanity on the road? That part. More gadgets. This is actually one of my favorites. I've had this forever. This is actually the Tribit. Got Trip It and Tribit. Tribit Stormbox 2 Bluetooth speaker. This is awesome. I'm a big fan of it. In fact, I should be able to turn it on. Hopefully the mic won't go away. So really simple setup. There's a power button. There's the Bluetooth button. There's a whole story behind the history of Bluetooth. You should look it up sometime. But it has to do with, I think, Danish culture. It's crazy. And there's a bass boost. And then this little thing is more power. You can lift this up. This part is a little bit tricky. But I want to be honest with how it works. Okay, so you open it up. And then, of course, you can plug that in to charge it up. There's no battery. It just plugs into the wall, which, and then we can do this. Right. And then it's going to try to connect to my phone. There you go. It just connected to my phone. So, yeah. I was listening to the Michelle and Diacello Tiny Desk concert, which you should listen to. There we go. See, I knew it was going to mute me. See, that's why you don't do the live tech demos. Sorry about that. What I was saying is that it was connecting, but I thought it was connected to my phone because that's what I was listening to. And evidently it connected to my computer. But it's usually connected to my computer anyway. So it's not a problem of the device. It's more a problem of how my system is set up back to systems. I love this device. It is, again, light. It might be 2 pounds. You see me just flinging it around. I want to respect the other people where I'm at. So I'm not going to blast it right now. But when I'm at home and, the new Griselda comes out or, the Kendrick Lamar stuff that I've been listening to a lot. Again, I've done a lot of videos about him recently, or even the new J. Cole stuff that's come out recently, or, just listening to Angela Bofield, rest in peace, classic R&B that I grew up with back in the 70s. Like, it's fire. Shout out to David Sanborn, who just died recently too. And I did a newsletter about him a few weeks ago, the classic, iconic jazz saxophonist. You might not know his name, but you definitely have heard his work. And me blasting him and the bass and the sound and the hi-hats and the treble. It's excellent speaker, and it's super portable. I've taken this to the beach before and stuff like that. Definitely taken on road trips. Check it out. And it's super affordable at this point. When I got it as a gift a few years ago, shout out to my family. I got it as a gift a few years ago. It was a lot more expensive. Now it's considered more of a vintage model, but it works excellent. And I've had no problems with it. I want to say the battery life is I probably have to charge it maybe once a week. And I use it a lot. I use it while I'm working, even while I'm editing these videos. As I edit this video for the replay, which you guys can also check out, then I'll probably be listening to this, particularly when I'm back home. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. And this one is a fun one. I just got this. I'm so excited. I'm not going to sing the Pointer Sisters, I promise. This is, make sure I get the name right. This is the Crosley CR 8005F MT Cruiser. Man, these names. Plus vintage 3-speed Bluetooth in-out suitcase vinyl record. It's a portable record player. That's what it is. Shout out to Crosley. I just got this joint. It's super light. And it opens like this. I feel like I'm suddenly in some type of mysterious briefcase movie. Pulp Fiction. I was like, what's the movie with the briefcase? This is joint right here. Hopefully you can see it well. And I can take this down as well, so you guys can actually see. There we go. Get new surroundings makes it harder. And everything's backwards here. So give me a moment. There we go. So you can see that. There's actually a 45. Actually, it fell off, but it does all three speeds. With the speeds, it's a 78, 33, and then the middle one is 45. And again, if you're in my age group or you know your vinyl, you know the vibe is that little 45 in here. And then this setup, as you can see, you have your power, you have your pitch, you have your volume. And as it says in the setup, this is all Bluetooth based. And so it goes in two directions, which I'm still having a lot of fun experimenting with. It goes in two directions. There's speakers in there. And so if you have something like, again, I have my phone right here, or even my computer, you can actually Bluetooth connect to it and then use it as a speaker. And of course, when you have your vinyl, like your Angela Bofill record, which I plan on getting later on this week, I cannot wait. The Angel of the Night album, that's going to be the first album I get for this. I used to have a bigger vinyl collection, and then I traveled and moved so much, as I talked about earlier. I ended up getting rid of a lot of it. I don't regret that because like my partner and I and with the kids and all that, sometimes we lived in very small spaces, not New York small, not Manhattan small, but fairly small spaces where if you have, a few hundred vinyl records, it's not going to work. So I don't regret giving them away. But for so long, I've been looking forward to getting a record player again. Two important things about this. First of all, there's currently a sale, like at this moment, which is one of the reasons why I copped it. So if you want to go and cop it, now would be the time. The links are below. The second thing is that I've had probably a handful of record players, particularly in my adulthood, and me and my best friend, shout out to Ray, us going vinyl shopping back in Chicago when I was post grad after going to Northwestern. And that was many, many an afternoon, particularly if you're a broke post grad student living in an expensive city, which Chicago, more expensive cities around, but when you're broke, Chicago's pretty expensive. And it was wonderful filling up afternoons looking at vinyl. And then, of course, vinyl wasn't as popular as it is now. Now I sound like the old man. Vinyl wasn't as popular as it is now. And so we're able to go and get, vintage Alice Coltrane, who is John Coltrane's widow, and in some ways a fantastic, maybe arguably better musician than he is. I know it's sacrilege, but finding her joints, and they were like 99 cents. And getting into the classic Bob James, shout out to Bob James, a lot of the jazz stuff, even musicians that I wanted to get into, but I couldn't afford to, and I was able to find their vinyl. The reason why it really works as a travel thing is it's ridiculously light, and it's also very, very affordable at this moment. I can't promise the price, but if you're watching it live, the price is really good right now. With the other turntables I've had, they have not been portable. I don't know. You don't want to have your Techniques, 200s or whatever, or 1800s. I think they're 1800s. The Techniques 1800s, whatever, and having them under your arm, and then you're trying to go to the airport, or you're going to the beach for the day. Like, you can't do that. Like, that's not going to work. Also, too, with the Renaissance and other people realizing that vinyl is fantastic. Again, my best friend and I were ahead of that wave, a long time ago. Let's leave it at that, decades ago. But with that wave coming back, there's an opportunity for you to get involved in grabbing vinyl. And depending on what type of trip you're doing, taking the vinyl with you actually isn't that ridiculous. Or if you look at it this way, which will probably happen as I'm traveling right now, even finding vinyl or records where you happen to be traveling to and being able to play them back at your hotel, back at your Airbnb, back to your family's place, whatever. Just this portability factor made it like a no-brainer for me. It was just like, no, I need to have this as I travel on the road. So I'm really excited to keep experimenting with it, build my collection back up. It's affordable and it's portable. And yeah, with in the age where I was buying turntables, which we call it hip hop. When I was buying turntables, they would cost $200, $300. This one is far cheaper than that, and it's portable and it's Bluetooth compatible. Forget about it. So definitely check that out. I know it's going to be helping me with my sanity already as I do more travel later on this year. Again, that's across the. I'm not going to say the rest of that, but it's a suitcase vinyl record player turntable. Man, someone needs to work it. Man, we need to find it. We need to do better. We need to find a better way to put that into 3 or 4 words. Lastly, when I'm keeping my sanity, I love the Delta Gold Card. It's a credit card. I've had it for ages, a long time, probably since probably since my youngest one was born, maybe a little bit less than that. So I've been hardcore with that. Number one, I love Delta. The 3 major carriers that gets across America. It's Delta, American, United. Delta is my joint. I got a lot of stories. I've done a lot of traveling. I've done my research. Shout out to the points guy. Mm. Yeah, Delta's the one for me. Delta's one for me. If you want to rock with Delta, if you're curious about Delta, or if you're already into Delta, there's many reasons to get this card. Number one, out of the different cards that are available, it is by far the most affordable. There's some of the cards that have an annual fee. This has a very small one. So that's one. The second thing is that it allows you to have free baggage for yourself and anyone who is actually on the same ticket/flight as you are. So if it's like you, let's say it's you and your mom and your aunt. If you guys buy the ticket at the same time and you're all on the same ticket, that's what they call it, the same ticket, and it's all purchased on the same time, then all of y'all would get free luggage. To get you up to speed, if you don't travel that much or if you haven't traveled in airports for a while, pretty much the standard is if you're checking in a bag, it's going to be $50 minimum. When I did the overseas travel, I think it was 60. Now they had a look, and then of course you have your 50 pound limit for each of the pieces of luggage. I believe with this card currently, and the things change, so please look at the link for details. I think currently you can have up to 2 pieces of luggage checked in for free. So off the rip, if you again, I recently had a European trip. So the trip over there, if you check in one bag, that's let's say $60. And then you're coming back. Remember, it's not round trip. So you're coming back and you're also paying $60. So whatever small fee they have, the annual fee, it's going to be taken care of by the time you do your first trip, for sure. If you're checking anything in. I check in less stuff because I tend to be a lighter traveler. Again, that's why the Paravel like suitcase, that's like big for me. You know what I mean? Like in another lifetime, I'd be a backpacker. So that's plenty of space for me. But yeah, as I get older, of course, traveling with other people and my kids and all that stuff, it's like, oh, that's going to come in handy. And it did, again, with the recent family travel and other stuff. You also get points based on what you purchase. So, of course, you get, Delta frequent flyer miles for everything that you purchase, because every dollar that you spend turns, or in my case, many years, adds up really quickly, which allows you to do free travel. Two caveats in a good way to that. The first thing is that there's certain things that give you more points. Like if you use this card, I think it's currently at restaurants, then you get 2 to 3 points per dollar. So if you end up having a fancy business dinner, which I'll have a few times a year, I'll take a client out or whatever the situation it is. And let's say you spend $250 on dinner, which, for three people for a fancy dinner here in Vegas or general Vegas area isn't unusual. So you spend $250 on that. Then that ends up being perhaps, I think it's double or triple the points. So then you end up having 500 frequent flyer miles or even 750 frequent flyer miles. And as of this recording, or as you're watching this live, I think the cheapest Delta flight is about 7,500 frequent flyer points. I've gotten a few of those. So you do that $250 dinner, assuming it's 3x for that, then you got 750 and you're a tenth of the way to getting a free flight, just like that. And then you pay off your credit card and do whatever you need to do financially to do it, but at least they record that part of it. The second caveat with that is that as you go in and build up points and as you're working with the card, then it actually enables you to get access to certain discounts that only card owners have. And so a relative of mine recently experienced that, where her and a friend wanted to go traveling, and she had this card. It's either this card or one of the higher echelon ones, but it was part of the Delta card family. Just say she had this card. She had this card. Her friend did not have this card. They went to, book things together because they wanted to fly together to this place. And they actually had access to different seats, which, right. So there's certain seats that were like blocked off for my relative's friend, but my relative saw the seat and was like, why don't you just get the seat next to me? And her friend was like, well, there isn't, it says the seat's not available. And they were like, oh, wait a second. You have the card. I don't. That's what happened. This is a recent discovery. And so, even as far as your availability of seats, how much of seats might cost, particularly how much they cost in frequent flyer points, there's different tiers depending on if you have this card or not. A lot of reasons for it. There's actually a referral link. So, I will get a bonus for it, but then I think you get a really nice bonus, like probably more points than I got when I signed up for this card way back in the day. It's in the tens of thousands of frequent flyer points if you end up signing up with this link. Hopefully it serves you well. I try to put up stuff on here that's going to serve everybody that is watching the show. So I wouldn't be recommending it if it wasn't fire. I've had the card for, again, almost the whole lifetime of my youngest son, and he's about to go into third grade. So I rock with this card heavy. There's also different tiers of the card. The gold is the most basic one. That's worked out well for me. I think there's a platinum one, and I think there's a blue one, which if you want access to the lounge and the real baller stuff, which I used to do, but I don't need that anymore. But go and check out the link. There's like 3 different options there. Have a blast. If you're going to be traveling and flying anyway, I say go ahead and get your points for it and do your thing. And, me having the card and other opportunities allows me to keep my sanity on the road. Again, my name is Damon Brown. I'm an entrepreneurial coach to side hustlers, solopreneurs, or otherwise non-traditional entrepreneurs. You're watching the Bring Your Worth show at Bring Your Worth TV every Wednesday at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. And I also have some bonus episodes that you should check out. I mentioned at the top of the show. You subscribe for free at bringyourworth.tv or on whatever platform you're rocking with. Feel free to do a follow or whatever they're calling it nowadays. Every platform's different. I can't keep up with it. I'm not a tech guy anymore, so I don't have to keep up with it anymore. But whatever your flavor is, feel free to follow or like or whatever so you can keep abreast of it. The simplest way actually to do it is go to bringyourworth.tv, subscribe, and then you get notifications. Hit the notification bell. You'll get notifications via email whenever a new episode comes out. You get my complete Bring Your Worth collection. It's over here. Here we go. Complete Bring Your Worth collection available now. And you can also watch it at bringyourworth.tv at the link below. And a recent episode that you can watch right now. Drake, Kendrick Lamar, and J. Cole, Creative Power Strategy. There's a great conversation happening over there, as well as with the shorts, the short video clips that are related to it. Some great conversations. And again, if you've been into music or hip hop recently, there's been a big conversation. I would love to contribute my piece of it. More importantly, what business strategies we can learn from the current 3 GOATs, greatest of all time, of our generation of hip hoppers. Last question. And if you have any questions, throw them in the comments. Last question. How do you keep your health up on the road? This is a key one. I mentioned earlier that I brought my robe here. I brought my favorite scents, all that good stuff. I also try to have some type of structure or routine, which is sometimes hard to do. Like this morning, I went and, did brush my teeth. I washed my face, kind of got started. And then I did my 5 minutes of meditation, which in a couple of days I've been traveling recently, I haven't done. And to be honest, I woke up this morning and I felt pretty off balance. I'm like, what is going on? I was like, am I catching a cold? Or, when you travel, sometimes you eat some exotic stuff, for lack of a better term. And I was like, what's something I ate? I'm like, oh no, I need to go ahead and wash my face, start my routine, do my meditation. And yeah, a couple minutes into my meditation, I was like, oh, I feel fine. Everything's fine. But my routine have been disrupted. And again, there's nothing wrong with disrupting your routine sometimes. There's nothing wrong with that. But if that continues to be disrupted, then that disrupted behavior becomes your new routine. And you don't know how your body, your soul, your mind might react to that. And so if you're feeling off balance when you're traveling, I think it's important to go ahead and have some type of routine, some type of setup that will help you keep some type of sanity. And there's some tools that I've had too, which I think have helped quite a bit with that. Um, excuse me. One, which is a funny one, is actually me bringing a portable Nintendo Entertainment System, which allows me to chill out. This is a fun one. Oh, if you're like me, oh man, look how tiny. Look at this. It's not even. It's it like it almost fits in my palm. This is just crazy. It's so adorable. Another holiday present. I think it was Father's Day a few years ago. Thanks again to my family for getting this for me. Around the time that first came out. If you are a 80s kid like I am, then you know what the vibe is. The original one was like way bigger. I don't think this opens. Okay, was way bigger, but it actually is the same setup. And this is the power button. There's a reset button. Hopefully, I'm unlocking some core memories for you guys. And there's an HDMI cord in the back or plug where the cord goes in. And it's really as simple as that. It has 30 games, and the games vary from the whole Super Mario Brothers series. So SMB1, SMB2, and SMB3, all classics, the trifecta. There's Metroid and Kid Icarus. If you're hardcore like me, you have a lot of memories of that. There are some hard games, so depending on where you're at. There's Ice Climber. There's Double Dragon, which was a classic fighting game from the 80s. There's Star Tropics, if you're an RPG nerd like I am, as well as the original Final Fantasy. And I believe Final Fantasy 2, there's Mike Tyson Punch Out. Shout out to Mike Tyson. That's how long Mike Tyson's been around. He's like 57 and he's still in the ring. This is back when he was the most dangerous man alive. Lots of other good stuff. Tech Mobile. So not just games that are actually from Nintendo itself, but also games that were from what we call third parties. So from companies like Capcom, which I think Mega Man 1 and 2 is in there. Like they're covering like the greatest hits. All in here. You don't need to download anything. You can actually save at any time. Thank God. Because these are some of the Castlevanias in there. Speaking of hard games, it's some of the hardest games that have ever been made. The original Mega Man, I remember beating that and I thought like my life was good. I'm like, wow, I'm part of the elite now. I'm part of Mount Olympus. Really hard games in here, some of them. You can save at any time. And I think there's 4 or 5 save slots. Metroid comes to mind, where it used to have a password system where it had 20 different characters, if I remember correctly, that you had to memorize. I remember getting the handwriting wrong because I've always had sloppy handwriting. I remember doing an all-nighter with Metroid, writing down the password, and then I must have gotten a letter wrong, and I lost all my progress. And I remember being so angry. You don't have to go through this with that. Again, I'm middle-aged. I'm not going to go through that anymore. That's for my kids. But also, the beautiful thing about this, 2 things that I love about it. Number one, again, it's ridiculously portable. These controllers are the same, like the same techniques that I used. Fam, they're the same, right? The second part of it is that everything's self-contained. And so I literally was able to bring this with me on my trip and just, again, tiny little thing, put it in the backpack. There's a couple extra wires in the back here, but that's it. And it's plug and play, as we used to say back in the tech days. And all 30 games are in there. You don't need to download anything. You don't need an internet connection. It's just beautiful and self-contained. And I loved when I got this a couple years ago, and my kids must have been 5 or 6, 5 going on 6, and probably 8. So 5-year-old and 8-year-old, and being able to play these games with them that their old man, when I was around their age, was playing, and be able to expose them to this and to show them things that, they might not have they might think you need to have a PlayStation 5 to have fun. And it's like, no, actually. And we spent hours, if not days, on this, much to the chagrin of the rest of the family, where it's like, okay, you guys need to take a break. Actually, two words of caution with this. Number one, this has actually become vintage in itself. So this vintage has become vintage. So these run a couple to a few $100s now. They're a little bit cheaper before, but now they're becoming harder to find. If you want one, you can use the link below and they'll have used ones, whatever. Go for it. Again, there's not a lot of technical components to it. Just get one while you can, because again, I got mine about a couple years ago and they were starting to become a little bit scarce then. And I was doing some research for this episode and they're getting scarce again. So be sure and check it out. The second thing is that, which not crazy about, is that the controllers that come with it are tiny. What is this? This is 3 feet. If you've played any type of video games that are wired controllers, and again, this generation, you might be part of this generation where you're used to wireless controllers. I'm used to wired controllers. So my kids, again, two rough and tumble boys. And there's so many times where they were like in the middle of playing, I don't know, Mega Man, again, the hard one, the first Mega Man. And they end up yanking it out. And it gets getting yanked out. So I end up footing the bill for an additional controller. And there's a lot of third parties that do this. And this is actually another camp. I'm going to show you. Let me show you. Okay, so I'm about 5'7". This is my forearm. This is how long this wire, I can't even keep it on my forearm. This is how long this wire is. So it's like, was this like 10 feet? Like this is a thing, but they didn't yank it out anymore. It's worth footing. I don't know. I think I paid like $15 for this. 100% worth it. So if you're going to get the portable NES, I highly recommend, if you can, if you like classic games or you want to get into classic games, it's better than having to go to all the garage sales and collect the games. I used to have all the games. I know how hard that is, particularly nowadays. Just get this joint, particularly if you have like a small apartment, or again, if you're traveling, this works really well. And all you need to do is get you have the HDMI cord that comes in there. Most TVs have the HDMI cord, or you can go ahead and if it doesn't fit, you can go and buy an HDMI to AV cord, which will fit with some of the older TVs. Just try it out before you get on the road and make sure that you have all the wires that you need. And the only upgrade I would recommend is getting some longer wires for the controllers. And again, that'll run you like 10, $15. I love this little thing. I'm actually going to play with it a little bit later on during my travel. I cannot wait, and do it in a grown man way. So probably, pour a little something, turn off the phone, and then maybe beat The Legend of Zelda for the umpteenth time. They have Legends Zelda 1 and 2. I'm going to digress. That alone should make you want to get this joint if you're as hardcore as I am. That's one of my favorite things as far as with traveling. That actually helps more with my mental health. With physical health, this is one of my favorite things as well. And shout to my partner who actually found this, and I got into this, so thank you. It's Elemis Aching Muscle Super Soak. And, I don't work in a construction yard. I have some rough hands, but they're not that rough. So it's not like I have a laborious job in that regard. But I love taking baths. And this, you could take like a half a cup of it and you pour it into your bath, and it has little bath bubbles, but it also, you can feel it as far as that. And I'm going to tell you the truth too. Like, again, my kids are 8 and about to turn 11, and they love beating up their dad. Like, you don't have to call protective services, but it's like they're always fighting, either fighting each other or fighting me. And it's play fighting, but they're getting older now. And so even as far as wrestling with them or at the park and we're running, just a physical activity, that can put some wear and tear in your body. This is fantastic for baths. I would highly recommend it. It is on the expensive side, but you only need to use so much. I have it on I get it through Amazon. Shout out to Amazon. And I actually have it on my subscribe and save. Sorry, got a lot of shine going on here. Look, very, very bright over here. But I have subscribe and save, which I think currently that saves about 5 to 10% off the price, and I get it quarterly. And I take baths a few times a week, and it lasts a long time. Again, you don't need that much. It is medicinal, so you want to go ahead and check the ingredients. You're not going to be able to read on here, unfortunately. I'm happy to keep it up, but it's not going to help on the camera. But feel free to go to the Elmis website or click the link right here, and then they have all the details. If you have any type of allergies or stuff like that, it works very well for me. So I'm happy to share it with y'all and do that. That pretty much only works with baths, and so if you're traveling in a place where there's showers, not really going to help you. But if you're in a place where there's baths, not jacuzzis, but actual baths that you're actually able to sit down into, then it's a big part of it. And that leads to my next recommendation, which I just got into recently. It's been on my list for a long time. I'm going to move my coffee because it's going to get big. Shout out to Saigon Coffee. I love y'all over there. So this is I don't know how to pronounce this one. Uralin? I think it's Uralin. It's on my list for a while, but don't know how to pronounce it. The Uralin Premium Bath Tray Caddy. Bring it physical again. This is a bathtub tray caddy. It actually goes in half. Again, making it easy to travel with it. And then, there we go. And then it expands. I feel like I need to play some backgammon. Oh, it's on the other side. I was like, why isn't it staying still? Got it backwards. There we go. So this is the premium bathtub tray caddy. Hopefully you can still hear me. More importantly, that you can see me. And as you can probably guess, let me put this down so you can see my big head. As you can probably guess, it's a bathtub caddy. So while you're taking your bath, you go ahead and put this down. And I love having baths where it's just me being out into space or laying back and, putting my head under the water or just reflecting on the day. Sometimes I want to have a glass of wine or something stronger. Hey, there's a space for that. Sometimes I'm in the middle of watching one of my favorite programs. There's space for that too. And you can go and set yourself up. And it is waterproof. Oh, it smells so good. It's actually made out of real wood. Still very affordable though, but made out of real wood. And it's just a vibe. You also can lock it into place. I know it seems loose, but you can lock it into place so it'll be firm. Just, of course, be careful with it because you will have it over water. And I started using this a couple weeks ago. I'm a big fan of it. I'm definitely going to take it traveling with me. And it's, again, about twice the size of my head. And then it's actually a little bag that comes with it. I don't know if I'm going to use the bag or not. It's a sturdy bag, but I don't know if it's really my style. And the joint fits right in there. And that's it. The last thing I'll say on that part is that it also comes with these little trays that slide right in there. And I can show you guys in a moment if you care to see it. But they go in there at a slight angle. And if you're intuitive, this is about the size of the average tablet. This is about the size of the average phone. Maybe not the average phone at this point, because you guys got some massive phones. I like my baby phones. You guys, man, I got older relatives that have phones that are like the size of my head. I'm like, you might as well just walk around with a tablet. But average size phone with fit in your ear, or at least you can lean against it. So you can put it in like this, almost like an old school typewriter. You put it in like this, and then you can lean it right there, and then you're good to go. So if you're watching Bridgerton, shout out to my friends and loved ones who are into that right now. You're watching Bridgerton, or if you're more like me and you're catching up on, like, I don't know, the Joe Budden podcast or Winover Productions. Shout out to y'all over on YouTube. I'm loving the videos. Then you might be on the tablet or you might be on the phone, and that allows you to do that. I'm not big on working, like doing serious work while I'm doing a bath. Like this, the kind of, to me, that defeats the purpose. But if you have work you need to do, that could be the equivalent of you working by the pool where stuff needs to get done. You might as well be comfortable with it. So that's helping with the health. Two recommended, get out of my mouth today. I think I need more coffee. Two recommendations as far as videos. Number one is Smart Holiday Travel, a live Q&A that I did a few months ago, where I gave a whole bunch of suggestions with travel, with more tools and stuff that would help you go through the holiday season. For a lot of us, because Memorial Day here in the States was what, like 2, 3 weeks ago. It was fairly recently, and so that in the United States, that's considered the beginning of the travel season. And then Labor Day, which is for us, is in September, usually the beginning to middle of September, depending on the year. Um, that marks the end of the travel season. And then, of course, there's the opposite of that that picks up again around Thanksgiving here in the United States, which is around the third Thursday of November. And then it ends around New Year's, which, of course, is January 1st. This gets into a lot of the other details that I was not able to get into with this, and also the best kind of tools as far as software that can actually help you while you're traveling too. So be sure and check that out if you want something a little bit deeper. And lastly, travel without leaving home. This was an important one for me because I wanted to give the tools that might help you if you couldn't leave. And this episode is closer to when we are sheltering in place. Also, there's a lot of people that I coach and a lot of people that I care about that have physical, mental, or emotional limitations where they're like, yeah, I can't leave the house. Right. And if you're in that group, it's like you still deserve to be able to travel. And so I give a whole bunch of tools, a whole bunch of software, even some websites that will allow you to expand and learn without having to get on a plane or a train or automobile. And so it's an important episode to me because I want to make sure that I gave love to all y'all who might not be able to head to a hotel or go on a spontaneous road trip, or it requires so much inordinate amount of travel or planning. I mean, that traveling doesn't seem realistic at the moment. So, if you're in that position, and I know some of y'all are, be sure and check out the episode. Again, really important episode, and as you can tell, it's really close to my heart. So hopefully it serves y'all well too. Yeah, so that is travel tips and how you can do some serious road tripping this summer or winter. Shout out to my Aussies out there. Much love to y'all. But however you're traveling, hopefully it'll help you get there. If you miss any of the products or discussions, of course, you can rewind, or you can go ahead and click on the links below. Everything is broken down there. My entrepreneurial coach, Damon Brown, of Side Hustlers, Solopreneurs, otherwise non-traditional entrepreneurs. This is Bring Your Worth Show, coming to you every Wednesday at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. You can subscribe for free. And you can get my latest book, The Complete Bring Your Worth Collection, everywhere fine books are sold, as well as listen to it here at bringyourworth.tv with the link below. All right. Well, happy trails to y'all, and I look forward to seeing you in a week. Until next time, remember, you can always bring your worth. You can always build from now. Take care of yourselves and others.